Today, a mayoral debate featuring all four major candidates together for the first time. Bob Filner, Bonnie Dumanis, Nathan Fletcher, Carl DeMaio have all agreed to participate. And this is held at the U.S. Grant Hotel downtown at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Meanwhile, some of the candidates have released plans on how they would help military veterans transition to civilian life. DeMaio says he would expand opportunities for veteran-owned companies to bid on city contracts and launch programs to provide mentors to help returning veterans. Dumanis says she would open a small business administration veterans outreach center. Just a couple of the ideas. So from the national campaigns to the local campaigns, we're going to ask a lot of political analyst John Dadian this morning.
Yeah, in fact, he's joining us live here in studio this morning. John, thanks for coming in.
Good morning.
We certainly do appreciate it. Let's just get right to it. In fact, if you don't mind, let's stay on the local level and talk about the debate that is happening this evening. And this is the first time that the four of them have really gotten together, and we're looking for them to battle it out in a sense, because we haven't heard significant differences between at least the three Republican candidates in this nonpartisan race.
Yeah, I've always predicted right after January 1st is when the campaign really kicks off. So this is evident of that, and it's really going to be exciting this afternoon. I will be there with bells on.
With bells on? Well, that's, you know.
So to speak.
Try to keep it down, yeah, because I think there's going to be plenty of fireworks. You think they're going to come out shooting here, you know, right off the bat?
I do. Again, the phrase that I've already used on this site is what's happened in the past 6 months is they really concentrate on fundraising. A little bit low-key. People really aren't focusing on the race. Now they have to. You see these issues that are popping up, such as education, such as military. So now they have to start defining things. So I've always said after January 1st, the gloves have come off and the brass knuckles go on.
Now, District Attorney Bonnie Dumanis has been relatively quiet leading up until this last week and a half or so. In the last week and a half, we've heard her say that she will pledge to donate her salary as mayor, and she also came out with an 8-point plan to reform the San Diego Unified School District. Right away, critics jumped on that, saying the mayor really has nothing to do with the school district, but she had a point to that.
Well, again, you're right, because the school board is elected officials in and of themselves that run the school district, etc. But it's not just Bonnie Dumanis. You see these other candidates are focusing on education. So really why are they doing this? Because they can read the polls. And people, you see these scandals in Sweetwater. You see everything going on with education in general. At the state level, you see, you know, Governor Brown saying we got to give money and take it from this pot. So that's a hot issue. And so the candidate is going to jump on any hot issue, whether or not they have direct control.
You know, I don't recall, in recent memory anyway, seeing four more different candidates. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase that. You've got a former Marine and a legislator in Nathan Fletcher. You've got a congressman with years of experience in Washington. You've got a prosecutor. You've got a watchdog who's been after city finances for a long time now. Well, what do they all have in common?
Well, I think with the way you described them, it's good for the constituents because you got something for everybody. But yeah, actually one thing they do have in common, Mark, is a long history, most of them, some longer than others, but a public service. So what they're going to be running on is their track record. Now, having said that, of course, speaking from pure political consulting point of view, when you run on your track record, your opponents also are going to say, here's what's wrong with your track record. And you're going to see that coming from all four different points.
And we will look to the January 31st mark as when we will finally see how much money these four candidates have raised over the past 6 months.
That's correct. The way it works is December 31st is when that last check that came in at midnight, and believe me, on New Year's Eve, I got an email from candidates up as late as 8 p.m. So at the midnight, that's when it ended, and then the campaigns have 30 days to submit the reports, and then it's made public right at the end of that 30-day mark.
Okay, that'll be interesting, and that'll be a benchmark, as Heather says.
Absolutely.
All right, let me go national here for just a second before we run out of time. Mitt Romney, so far, you know, he was leading in the polls going into the caucuses and the primaries. He continues to do that, but I sense tepid support. I don't see him breaking out and making any big, huge, you know, gains here. Is that the way this campaign is going to go? Is he just going to kind of chug along and be the kind of presumptive nominee unless somebody knocks him off?
I think so, absolutely. So he doesn't have to win big in these next couple of primaries. He just has to win, you know, for substantial. Here's what the real difference is. In New Hampshire, at one point, in Iowa at one point, he wasn't going to campaign heavily. So early on, they'd focus on New Hampshire and South Carolina, which is coming up. Then when they saw they had a chance in Iowa, they concentrated, and he did okay there. But my point is they already have structures in New Hampshire and South Carolina. So I do think you see the steamroller going to pick up steam because their long-range strategy was to start picking up. Don't forget, Florida's right after South Carolina, right. And I think by that one, it'll be pretty solid for him.
This all usually comes down to what sometimes skeptics say, who can raise the most money? Can anyone stop Romney in that aspect or catch up to him?
Probably not at this point, although one reason why Ron Paul is still in it, because he's done pretty well from his point of view, not as big as Romney, but he keeps raising quite a few bucks, et cetera, and that at least keeps him in the arena. So realistically not. Now, this is a Republican primary, but to give you an example, compare statistics, in the fourth quarter, the Obama, now of course that's an incumbent, but they raised basically 3 times as much as Romney did in the same quarter. So that's where the power of the incumbency comes in.
The power of the incumbency, because basically the president shows up and says, I need your help, and people,
that
they start
checkbook
writing
comes
checks.
out.
Right.
All right. John Dadian, thank you so much. We always appreciate your expertise.
Pleasure.